Welcome everybody, welcome to another video brought to you from the Tomb of Illumination. This video is going to be for beginners. I've done a few in the past, but I've always left a lot of stuff out, so I'm just hoping to get all of it out today because I have a camcorder and I can record. We're going to go way back to the beginning of creation and give some correlations between man and earth, religion, spirituality, man's biology. It's all connected. This is why you've got to realize the Bible is a book of facts. It's a book of physics, but it runs a parallel line, parallel story with the spiritual ascension of man, opening up his mind, and opening up his mind. Well, there's a big long story there too. We're talking about the two hemispheres of man. So this will lead on to the beginning of time actually, because you've got to understand man at some time of his life has to make this connection between his two hemispheres of his brain. And this is what the Pisces symbol represents. You know, the two curves and the connecting point. That's shown in our system here. I'm going to get into in a minute, but that connection is basically a place of rest where you have rested. You've become enlightened, and you're now going to leave the matrix. You've opened your third eye by this connection. The midway point, you've opened your third eye. Okay. So this is the meaning to life for man. He has to open that third eye to leave the matrix. He can do whatever he likes in the physical world, but if he doesn't open that third eye, he's stuck here over and over again, recycled. And you know, the next time he comes back is not pleasant. If you've had a good life, you're not coming back to have a good life next time, because you didn't figure it out that time. You just see if you figure it out this time when you're suffering. Okay? So let's take a Freemason in the Hamptons and swap them with the Palestinian. That's what's going to happen. Palestinian is going to be swapped with someone in the Hamptons, maybe. That sort of thing's going on. Okay. So we'll remember, you know, it's written in the Bible: he who comes last will come first, and he who is first will come last. It's that sort of thing. So remember, it's a place of rest. You've achieved the goal. Okay. So now we go right back to the beginning of time, creation, Earth. Earth is created. Well, first we have to understand everything is magnetism. Okay? Everything. All our winds are driven by magnetism because it's a strong. Look, you got North Pole, South Pole, day and night, positive and negative, weak force, strong force. Then comes male and female. They all represent the duality between these two poles of a magnet. It's magnetism. So, if you haven't seen the flat Earth model before, looking down on it looks like this. You've got the very center northern hemisphere. In there, you have a tropical gap between Cancer and Capricorn. Then you have the whole southern hemisphere all around here. So I'll put that in the middle. And out of the middle, right dead center of the middle, is creation. And it's in here. And it's expressed out. And that expressing out creates our realm that we live in. We don't live in this created point here. We only exist out here. Okay? All of creation comes out of the center, which all boils back to nothing. It can come back to the size of an apple. Physics talks about this, okay? And so everything that's in there is exploded out into our realm. And the only way we can see what's in here is by looking up at night. Look up, they say. Plenty of images of ancient philosophers or whatever pointing upwards. It's all up there. Everything hidden in here is all up there in the night sky. So that's what we have to learn and understand. So this image here is a slice. There's a slice through the flat Earth system looking back this way. Okay? So this thing here, and look at this. This is the Milky Way that comes over into there. So I put that on there like that acts as the Milky Way. What does it look like? It looks like a clock. Where do you think clocks and watches all originated from? That's the Milky Way. That's the Rakia. The solid bit of stars you see moving across the sky. Not so much in the northern hemisphere. But why we see it quite well in the southern hemisphere is because look, it's all expanded. Everything expands out from the centre. Expresses out. So back in the north, everything's contracted in. You only see so much. But if you come to the south, you actually expand in the field. Everything becomes a broader perspective. This is why the astrophotographers like filming the Milky Way in the southern hemisphere. So this is what the Milky Way does. It moves around the Earth 360 degrees over 24 hours. That's our timekeeper. And you've got to realise that's the sun we see out here in the tropical region here. That's the sun we're all taught about, right? Well, at the end of there is the actual real sun, the plasma, pure plasma hidden in the Arctic, above the centre Arctic, right back in here. So there's two ways to look at it. You understand the real one is the timekeeper that doesn't go anywhere but just turn, okay? Or you think of this one at the other end, which could be an image, which is basically an image of this. So this is the representation of creation. If we can see it, then it's in our created realm. Back here we don't see it. So that's the day image of what's back at creation. Otherwise everything else is at night. You only see it at night. Only the sun do we see in the system, out in our realm, going around every day. Okay? So understand the two suns here. Then you have to understand the shape, the concave shape. You'd have to go and understand what convex mirrors do, how they send back holographic projections to the observer. So because this is a round system like this here, you take this is a toroidal field, they're shaped like a toroidal field, same thing as Earth. But this is the field, the magnetic flux. Okay? The Earth is a flat plane through the middle there. So that's the centre north contracted in the centre there. In there, inside there, see? So half of this is that half of this is that half. So you've got to imagine a tropical gap. It's all the way through here, which is there. All the way around, it comes out here. Just like this, okay? So what happens is, there's the centre north. The magnetic field is always coming out like this, out of the north like this, every day. It's just always flowing out. That's what they call dark matter, or what's the other one? Dark matter and dark something or other. It's doing that every day. It's like the pixels of a TV screen to make the images move, and that's how we move through our realm. This is always flowing out, gives us the pictures. Okay, so your Milky Way comes out of the tropical gap over into there, and what's happening between the tropical gaps is the energy. That's where the energy is being created to create the sun. So that's how we can see it in our 3D realm, is that the forces of there and there are creating our image of the sun through magnetic induction. Look up magnetic induction or capacitance. And at the end of the day, what we have here, this is one way to look at it. It does change a little bit. They're two south poles. I'm not right in saying that, but at maximum separation in the season, they are opposite each other. Two south poles. Okay? And then we come over to understanding, oh no, I won't go that far yet. Let's go back here. So North and South Pole. So northern hemisphere is inside here, which I've shown you, that more compact. And then the broader field is Southern Hemisphere. So there's two ways you have to imagine it or understand it. It's the centre north is very small, compacted in there like that. But it's all relative to the observer. So we just take everything as being equal. So this is why we draw this equal image. Understand it that way. Okay? But at the end of the day, if you could look down on Earth, that's how small it, you know, it's contracted and it's magnetically locked in the center there of the toroidal field. Okay, so you got the flat plane of Earth in here. Okay, so that doesn't go anywhere. Okay, well it does, but in the good book it says it's fixed and stationary, which means this thing here is fixed and stationary. It doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't wander off. It's fixed there, and it's forever moving inside out like this. The flux going out and back up and in. That's the magnetic field, but the Earth is stationary inside, okay? To a point. So there's your centre northern hemisphere in there, and all out here is the southern hemisphere. I mean, it's the southern end. That's your this is Antarctica. There's the Arctic in there, and there's the Antarctic. And what happens over the year, it's a yearly cycling system that changes the seasons, is another system that moves like this. Okay, so that southern field there, not the southern Earth, the southern field goes through the Earth to come up and out into the north. See that red? It's shrunk in. See that red there? That was out there. There's the wider red. See, wide red. Well, it goes up into here. Look, tightly centered northern hemisphere now. That's the magnetic field of Earth. That's what it does. And the sun's image follows that magnetic field. Obviously it doesn't move through the Earth, that's because it's all projected from the top here. But as this field's moving, the sun will flow with it. I won't go too deep into that, just go with that. Okay, so that's that. So understanding this inversion, brings it all back to the north, all the way out to the southern hemisphere. So you can say, well, then you come back to this picture over here and understand how the seasons are changing. Okay, so in the northern hemisphere, we draw it like this. There's your daylight. So you could say that's your positive field. And on the other side is the night side, which is the negative field. And this northern hemisphere turns. It's always turning. See, it's in here. It's always turning. But as that turns, it's creating a mirrored projection out on this concave field here, which gives a reversed image, a mirrored parabolic projection, a reversed image. So if the sun's going this way, well, it goes around this way actually. Let's draw it. The Milky Way comes around like this. The whole system's going like this. This system's going like that. So they come in to meet each other more or less, like that. But this star out here. Let's say this sun's a star, okay? Well, look, it's going all the way around here. Okay? And so, because this is doing revolutions in here all the time, the northern hemisphere, and if you just get your camera up and stationary and started filming it, you're going to get a circle. You're not moving, your camera's fixed, so you're just watching this circle go around here, then you're filming a star trail circle out here. Doesn't mean the stars here are fixed, because they're always moving south. in and out of your horizon. That's your horizon line. That's your meridian line. Every man is on one of these meridian lines, north to south. So if he fixes his camera there, he's going to get this slice of the pie, rotation, just stationary there. But he can't film the same stars sitting there. They're all moving this way 15 degrees per hour, thereabouts. Just less, because the sun does 15 miles an hour, 15 degrees per hour, and it's quicker than stars. It's not for beginners, but you get to understand that later. So everything's just turning like this. So imagine that circle turning in there. As this turning, it's creating this turning. Like this, because of this parabolic projection sending the image back to you. Okay? Coming from in here. There's the main turning vortex. Understand that? I hope you do. Now the two hemispheres are separated by this tropical gap. It's what they call the dielectric. The magnetic field does not cross this dielectric zone. In physics they tell you a little bit gets in there, crosses there, but realise the gap is there for a reason. And then you might want to go and study or look up what a rotor is if you don't know what that is. So we've got a fixed rotor. There's a generator. Has this fixed rotor. The state is fixed. I think they have it on there. So in the earthly system, the center north is fixed, like I say, it just turns like that. While this southern field, so the fixed rotor is the northern hemisphere with a moving stator, the southern hemisphere. So these, you've got to imagine these circles here, they're turning all the way around there, but they only do one revolution all the way around to there, because it's mirroring this, right? So that does one turn. Then obviously these stars here have to come all the way around to do one revolution to come back to there. Okay, so look at it that way. And they have the gap, the tropical gap, right, dividing the two magnetic fields, and the energy is created between the gap for this magnetic induction that feeds up through here into the Milky Way. Over the year, this movement, this expansion and contraction, turning inside, it's the cycles of time. It's always moving in and out, but doesn't go anywhere. It's just basically repeating itself. So we're stuck in this moment of time, basically, day in, day out. Turns. So everything is sort of moving ahead in a cycle, but day in, day out, everything's just repeating. Okay, but they do go through cycles of time, which is understanding cycles of time is understanding how the sun here races ahead of all the stars by 4 minutes a day. So let's say, we've got the stars here, right? All the stars, night time. So, and then the sun comes along, and this, all the stars, the backdrop is night, so they're all stars everywhere. Like the whole universe is black, okay, with stars in it. And then along comes the sun over it. The sun just moves over them. You know? So it moves through the backdrop of night, and it's 4 minutes quicker. So it races ahead 4 minutes. So if it raced ahead in 4 minutes, what happens the next night is we get 4 minutes extra of stars to fill in that void. That's the void the sun just made, shot ahead. And because we get the extra 4 minutes of stars every night, your dumb science tells you that the stars are quicker than the sun. I mean, how dumb is that? But a lot of people believe that because they don't think. See? And what happens is over the whole year, look, it raced ahead 4 minutes a day over the whole year, adds up to, I've done earlier videos on all this, everything on my mind. Anyway, it races ahead every day by 4 minutes, and then at the end of the year, let's say this is where our start point was. So it races ahead 4 minutes every year, races around here every day, and it's catching up. And at the end of the year, 365 days, 365 days? Yeah, 365 days, it doesn't quite get back to the start. It falls short. Okay? Oh yeah, so at the end of the year, we'll use another pen now. At the end of the year, it falls 20 minutes short. That distance there stops 20 minutes short. That creates the precession of the equinoxes. So then you've got to think, well, hang on, every year there's 20 minutes back, 20 minutes back, 20 minutes back. Okay? So during the day, it's beating everything by 4 minutes, but at the end of the year, it doesn't quite lap it. So it sets everything ahead of it by 4 minutes. So this recession, 20 minutes a year. So this recession, 20 minutes a year, is what gives you the precession of the equinoxes. And what happens is after 72 years, it's done one full lap back, which adds up to 1 degree. They call 1 degree. Okay? So over 1 year, 72 years, all those 20 minutes, add them all up, creates one full cycle. And that becomes that's the 1 degree over 72 years. But then it carries on. You get a realignment after 2,160 years. But we won't go into that, it's getting a bit technical. Okay, so just understanding what the sun is doing. You've been taught all the BS all your life for like 3 generations, and everybody's they're pretty basic. They just go along with their lying Freemasons and their scientists. They want to control you, because controlling you, not letting you think you're fixed in this spiritual conscious realm. You don't connect with your inner self and leave the matrix. They want you kept here as a slave. You know the old Anunnaki story of slaves? That's an early creation story. So they have actually made slaves of the human race, and they're mining for gold. So they're mining your mind. Now creation, God, say, wants your mind, because he's hoping one of you will wake the hell up and join his team. Putting it basically, okay? That's what it's all about. Okay, so I hope you understood that. Now you've got to understand that nothing in our realm is physical. It's all perceived as being physical because of our programming. But you've got to understand that everything, we go back to the A&E map, azimuthal equidistant. Equidistant, it expands equidistantly out from the dead center. Because everything, including us and flipping everything we've got in our hand, whatever, flying an aeroplane, expands in the field as we move south. Nothing is physical. We're pixelated images in the TV set. Picture it like that. As the dark energy is moving, we're moving in the ether. So everything expands as it moves south. Okay, you've got to believe that. You've got to understand it. This is why flying from there to there is equal to flying this wide distance here. You've got people like that Will Duffy asking silly questions, because they know it's very hard to explain on the flat system. Get people to explain how it all works when they've been indoctrinated for 3 generations. It's all mind control, TV, newspapers, magazines, NASA, everything. So flying from there to there is equal to flying just around here, because you've flown the same arcs of longitude. So time over distance is all equal out here as it is way back here. You've got to understand it's a true representation of the Earth, and because it's equal, all time is equal over distance, you can make all these lines parallel, and that's why we go to a Mercator map. So go check out a Mercator map where all the arcs of longitude are dead level, are parallel, because all the times are equal. You've got to understand that. Now, once you get your mind set that nothing is actually physical, you start to understand what's happening with the seasonal change too. Because the southern hemisphere out here, there's two parts to it, you see. This hemisphere contracts back into the north. That's part of this inversion. Or expressing. See? Look back in. This is what it's doing. And this is where you come into this picture here with a fixed northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere moves out and moves back in again. So when it moves out, you're drawing the sun's analemma out. If you're filming a sun's analemma, then it comes back in again. This is the southern magnetic field. But the thing is, as azimuthal equidistant, science knows that the Earth's print is due to the curvature of the sky above. But that's only because it's due to, you call it relativity, because everything is relative to the man. He is within his arc of horizon. Everything he sees is plastered on his arc of horizon. You've got to understand, a man stands under just something like this. He's always standing here. As he moves, his arc of horizon moves with him. He only sees out here to 3 miles at ground level, sea level. But as he rises up, it will expand. But he's always standing here, which is 90 degrees to his zenith. And everything comes back to him. He sees everything coming back to him perpendicular off the arc. 90 degrees off this arc. And this 90 degrees off here is where science tries to bamboozle you and tell you that all the rays come in parallel from outside the universe somewhere. Hey, look, it's square off here, perpendicular off the dome. That's all you're concerned with. That's all you see. Till you move, your dome goes with you. So you've got to understand that. So everything in there is all relative to you. You don't know that the outside world has exploded 50 times bigger than what you have. You're not aware of that, because as you move, it's all relative to you. So when you move south in the southern hemisphere, you know, it's like the map shows, everything's expanding in arcs of longitude. You're expanding, the aeroplane's expanding, whatever. It's like that. So, but the field expands out and contracts back in. And this is where you start to understand, well, you should go and research what a vortex does. Vortex. Now, they've recently been showing us that a heart is the vortex. This is your heart. If you squash that in, compact it back in, you've got a heart. There's your heart. Contract this in, you have your heart. A vortex. That's the centre of the man. There, look, we've got an S cycle in the centre of creation. That S cycle in this area here represents the feminine, the female part of creation, as in the male and the female. And the moon does this cycle. You can see images of the S curve and the moon cycles and a lemma taken over the month. That's half the cycle. Then it's got to return back up to complete the 8. And this is what the stars do overnight, over the day, over 24 hours. They come out like that and go back in. So we only see half the cycle at a time, don't we? So there's your S curve like this, shaped like that. And you look down from the top, look down into the vortex, takes you into what we know as the Fibonacci. The golden ratio, if you look down that way, down there. But then it's got a return cycle, so it's got to go back in. This is the cardioid. These are the cycles of time all in here. Okay? Understand that. So everything in here is projected out here. So we see the stars move around like that. It's this vortex turning in here, turning the shape, the figure 8 inside here. Sends the stars flying around the perimeter here, or out here, and then you've got to imagine the mirroring effect. So everything in the southern hemisphere is like this. So let's do the 2 rotations of each hemisphere. There's your northern hemisphere. There's your northern hemisphere, all the stars say. There's your southern hemisphere. Well, because of this parabolic projection mirroring what's in the north, it's more wider and more dispersed, because look, there's a 3-to-2 ratio here. 2 or 3, or you know, it's 3-to-2, or you can go to 1.618, 5, somewhere in there. It's described in Plato's dialogues as the unequal divided line. Unequal divided line. Unequal, look. No one talked about this sort of stuff till I came along, you know. So what happens is, where are we up to here? Oh, okay, so let's say you've got a star here and a star here. Well, those 2 stars get flipped over here. So that star now comes down here, and that star comes up over here. And you get this picture like this. Now one day, buy yourself a camera and go do some star trail photography and aim for the celestial tropical gap. This gap between the 2 rotations of stars. And you'll see Rigel, you see Rigel here, and then you get Sirius back here, and then Sirius becomes Aldebaran. Which one's Sirius? Aldebaran. That becomes Aldebaran, and the other one becomes Betelgeuse, Juice, whatever. There's the cross. And you're going to be looking for the old Orion's belt somewhere in here, passing through. They're the 3 wise men that came from the east, left via another route, which is west. The holy season. Okay, so understanding how the field moves like this, and a complete separation comes about on the 17th of October. Okay, 17th of October, maximum separation. Then the field, the plasma shift of our Earth, magnetic shift, sends the sun into the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, to get our sun permanently around Antarctica. Probably lost you already, but you've got to remember this movement is to do with this expansion and contraction here, right? So let's say you got the sun all the way around 24 hours in the Arctic North, right? Which is what it does in the winter, and then as the magnetic field moves, the sun's moving like this in declination, isn't it? And then look, now it's popped out to the south. It's permanently out the south. Well, the field keeps continuously moving. The magnetic field is moving because it's a toroidal field, so it's always going like this. It's always moving around. You see everything every day at night moving. It stays there for a while until it either goes back. It must which eventually goes back in this way. That's the magnetic field going through the earth. And then what happens? Pops into the north. And we see that here. So there's your northern hemisphere. You've got all the night time there, negative. Out here, the positive, the sun, sunny day, that's turning. As that turns, it's pulling this around. And look what happens here. You've got the full daylight all the way around there. It's the snake eating its tail. Some of you, or if you've done some research, will have read this in esoteric stories. The snake eating its tail. Because a lot of those ancient stories, most of them, all of them, they're all books of physics, esoterically written, coded. And there you got your full-time sun. So this is always moving, but you've got the sun permanently out around Antarctica for 24/7 till this field starts inverting. So you take this image here and invert it. It looks like this. Then the sun pops up in the Arctic centre, and there's daylight around to there. There's your half cycle, and this is turning. Remember, so there's day and there's night. It just varies a little bit in size as the season changes. But there's the image. That is inverted to that. That's opposite. So this is maximum separation after the 17th of October. The two fields are maximum apart, and the two fields here are souths. They are south. That's why we've got this separation, because they don't attract, do they? No. But as the season changes, what happens? They start offsetting. As they offset, what are they doing? They're going to their opposite pole, which is attraction, isn't it? So that's what draws the field in, like this, as it's all moving. So imagine like this being offset slightly as it goes like this, but it's still moving around every day, but eventually over the year it pulls right in like this, and then it comes back out again. That's how it happens. It's all due to magnetism, you see. And this is going really deep for beginners. You've got to understand, if the sky is doing this, then the whole southern realm of our southern hemisphere of our realm, is contracting in as well. I've told you nothing's physical, because we all expand and contract in the field. You've got to understand, the whole southern field contracts into the north. Now in the Bible it says, in those days were giants. So they're talking about maximum separation in those days. It's all physics, seasonal change. So some stories will talk about in those days were giants. This particular story here talked about the snake eating the tail. That's maximum separation. There's lots of other stories to describe that, but I'm going on the top of my head. That's what's happening. But that's not the divine season, you see. Also, this is depicted in stiff-necked. Too stiff-necked. You read that ancient Egyptian books, or even religion, I think. Maybe esoteric books. All the ancient stories. Stiff-necked represents the seventh vertebrae. Look, where is it? 7 degrees north of Cancer. It's 30 degrees. Come out of Egypt. This is the divine awakening period. You see? And so this is when the field has come back in. So take one of these circles right up to there. And what's the intersection point? Just here. Intersection point is here somewhere. There's your circle there. So you got one you got your Physica Piscis. And this point in here, look, it's the crossover in the sun's analemma too. Look at that. We've done the sun's analemma, the crossover point. Look, Physica Piscis right at the centre. You say the eye of Ra, right there. That is this point. Egypt is 30 degrees, isn't it? North. 7th vertebrae. This represents the neck between these two fields, your body and the neck. And this moving up has something to do with this. And that takes up the 7th vertebrae. Seven more degrees past Cancer. So that's 7 degrees. So you bring that back down. Okay. Look at that overall, but then you have to realize I've drawn it all equal relative to the observer, but it's not. You've got to understand the field, look, 3:2 ratio. So this field's bigger. So that's where you start thinking about this point and this neck. Because what you've got to understand is when this bigger field comes up to the north, the smaller field, they find a balance due to the overlay. And that balance is that resting state I was telling you about that man has to find between his two hemispheres, brain hemispheres, to find his third eye. And then we go back to creation again and find when the two forces of nature came together and hit, went bang, created the inertial plane, a flat line, bang, that flat line is balance. Explosion. Flat plane is a flat line. Flat line, you're dead, aren't you, normally? Well, that's the state of rest. The flat plane. And if you go back, where's my... Here it is. So the two forces came together. So a north and a south. There's your south, there's your north. Bang! And that set our whole realm off. And that flat line there is perfection. And that's the same thing as the black hole of creation. It's the dead center. It's the place of rest. There's nothing happening inside the black hole. All the action is around the perimeter of the two forces coming together. So you see now all the sparks here, say. But in here, it's perfect balance. You know, what? And that spot there is that spot. Is this spot. It's this spot, black hole, and this spot where they find balance. Not there, because that's separation. They find balance, the black hole. So all life on Earth is due to friction of an imbalance. So all the imbalances around the perimeter here, balance is on right in the center. So what we do is, so there's Earth. It's been created as a flat plane of perfection, and the ancient Egyptians have written it that Earth is from the hole. It's from the black hole, this place of rest, the center. Okay? But there's always this continuous force coming in, the two forces of nature, creating the aggravation, the friction. And that's what brings life. Friction creates the life. So you go, let's say it's a big bang, go boom. Let's say go boom, and they go boom. And what does that? I mean, it's an atomic explosion, looks like that, doesn't it? Let's do it another way. An atom bomb or something. Look at that. Boof. Boof. It's the mushroom, isn't it? Well, isn't it similar to the human brain? There's two hemispheres of the human brain. Doesn't that look similar? And then what if you go like this? Well, that symbol's been around for a while. Or something like this. or just like that. That symbol's been around for a while, representing the heart. I did have it drawn slightly earlier like this. It's been around for a while, or something like that. Representing the heart, right? Well, that's representing balance. It's perfect harmony. It's pure love. That's what God is. Balance is pure love. Because it's perfect. It's perfect. And this is where man has to find his way back to that perfection. And with all the aggravation in the world, we don't find it, do we? There's too much stress and aggravation. And that's what they want. That's all the Freemasons who run the whole system. All the Freemasons, they're people at the top, the Zionists, they claim they're the poor and poor affected people, but they're not. No. And we're not just referring to Jews. We're talking about people beyond there who will slaughter any average Jew just like he'll slaughter you and me and every Palestinian. They're the same people. They're like the Satan that runs the world. And they're always making things horrible for us, so we don't find this place of rest. And this is why you do not watch TV, listen to any of their news. Don't even read your local paper, because it's all stress and bullshit. You got to stay away from it. No one will ever leave the matrix if they don't find that balance of peace. Okay? So the two forces of nature came together. Okay, so we've got a long way to go yet. So there's your flat line of Earth. And so we've got a force that went this way and a force that went this way. So like magnetism, everything breaks down. So now we've got to concentrate on just the top half, because this is the positive half where man lives. He lives above the Earth. He doesn't live below the Earth where it's negative. He lives above the Earth. So, and then you've got to consider Earth is basically a magnet. You've got to understand Earth is like a magnet, because everything boils down to magnetism anyway. Is like a ring magnet. That centre hole is minute in the centre here. Okay, you got the tropical gap there, tropical gap all the way around. So there's Earth, and everything, magnetism is confined into the centre and comes out of the centre, like I've shown you in this model here. It was always coming out of the centre, the hyperboloid centre. So it goes like this, and it's like this. It's all coming out of there. But what no one's ever told you till I came along is you have to have this tropical gap for the field, for everything to function, because the energy in here, what's being created out here is the mining for gold, you could say. Let's say the two hemispheres of the man's brain, finding his light feeds the gold. Look, feeds the real thing, the gold in here. That's what man has to do, find that, so he feeds the sun. Our whole realm is based on your consciousness, your conscious state. You wake up, you feed this thing. If nobody ever wakes up, we just disappear. Trust me, it goes deep. So let me just think of all the energy that's being created in here is feeding the plasma sun. There's only one Milky Way, but it goes all the way around the Earth, and then later on will end up over here, won't it? That's the vacuum pipe. Now, Dyson makes vacuums. He's a physicist. Wow, he must know the system. There's the vacuum pipe, and what happens in here is everything, the air is being ionized. And what did he do? He invented a fan, because this is all wind. Because in meteorology, all the winds come from the Arctic over to here like this, and up to here, the water molecule comes up through the ground here, through the tropics, from the subterranean basement, and gets shredded on the way up into isotopes to feed over into the plasma sun. That is your vacuum. There's your vacuum. And then here the ionization is taking place. Everything is driven into the tropics. Did he know that? Because he's created his ionization fan, hasn't he? And then you've got to realise what's happening out here in our realm is what's happening back in here. Hidden. And this is called the Arctic vortex. The four winds that turns the vortex. Four winds, you could say. Because there's a dual system coming up and down off the earth here, and a dual system coming in from over the tropics. There's four winds. But you've got to bring that back and associate it into our realm. So have I lost you already? Now we go back to creation itself, that flat plane again. Get rid of our realm that's been created already. We go backtrack a bit. Go back to that flat plane where the two forces have come together. That's it up there. That's the 2D plane of creation. Look at it. That's it. 2D plane. And so if you look down on it, when it becomes 3D and you can look down on it, because this hasn't been formed at this stage, all goes back to that point of creation there. But then, once the four winds took place, started moving the vortex, it creates the depth. And then you get this at the core. It starts spinning and it creates the suction. This is getting sucked up there. This is getting drawn in here. And bingo, there's your sun on the horizon of the black hole. That's the pure plasma sun up there. Through the friction. The friction brought about by this spinning and this spinning together. The two forces of nature coming together. So we started with the two initial forces of nature, one there, one this way. Then we break it down and come into our realm, which I meant to show you before. And then, so, you know, once this plane took off, energy was formed, bang, it created the 3D. This is the 3D down here, which projects out and creates our 3D image. And that's up there's the 2D plane. 2D plane creates this 3D. Okay? So if that hadn't taken off, that wouldn't exist, and this wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be here. It all starts on that flat plane, right? And life begins once this 3D is formed. Because this in here, you've got the moon in here. The moon, all the stars are in here and they turn. Well, the moon is actually the sun. It's the negative image of the sun. Okay? So you've got to go from 2D to a 3D expression. It goes deep. You've got to really open your mind to figure out how the sun doing circles in here ends up doing a 3D S-curve out here. I'm not going to try and help you get into that one, because you need to really think about that and go work it out yourself. But that's what's happening. And then this 3D system is expressed out here. It's all seen moving around our sky through these parabolic projections off the shape of the magnetic field. Okay, so we break it down to our realm, and that end up with the two forces up on the top half. There's the two forces of nature there, one coming this way, one coming this way. But that's still creation. Now we could break it down again, take this, and break it down over here, or whatever, either side, it's just part of the whole system. We break it down again. Then we get a force coming this way. Okay, two forces coming together there. Because this is the weak force of the southern hemisphere, look. Weak force, strong force is in the center. Strong. Two south poles at the moment, we don't need that anymore. Strong force strong force, weak force. Okay, due to the expansion, remember, expands out. So what they teach you in school is the energy in that pole is the same energy as that pole. They don't tell you that the energy is all widely dispersed to make it the weak force, as opposed to the strong force in the north. Weak force, strong force. So, got that? Where are we going with that? Okay, so we've broken this down. We've gone to this. I've done a video years ago showing how the system worked, how it starts off this way, then goes this way, then breaks down again and goes this way, and then goes this way. It gets smaller and smaller. It breaks down like a magnet. So you got the two forces vertical here, you got the horizontal here. You go out here somewhere. Ooh, I would have thought that'd be horizontal too. No, I had it. There's a system coming up here and down here. Oh, there you go. Because that, maybe that's jumped out to 66 degrees. Because right out at 66 degrees, you've got another, a minor one of those, mirroring what's in here. So 90 degrees in the centre Arctic, that mirrored effect is out here at 66.6 degrees. See, Polaris Australis, Sigma Octantis, 66.6 degrees. That's where your compass goes haywire, because the magnetic field is basically doing a golden ratio. So there's no one south pole. The south pole's there. Depends on where you're going. Are you travelling there, or are you travelling there, or are you travelling there, or there? It's always south pole, because it's mirrored from the north. While we're on that, we'll talk about their other lie. That is not the South Pole. Antarctic is the anti-Arctic to the north. That's the Arctic, it's the anti-Arctic. And a dip compass, go look it up, a dip compass, you have to ask the right questions, because I lied to you online. You have to say something like, why does a dip compass dip at both Arctics? Oh, funny thing. The magnetic dip compass points you down on both Arctics. No, they taught you a big fat lie that there's an outfield and an infield on your ball, right? Total lie. The dip compass dips in and dips in. Dips into the ground and into the ground at, it's the northern hemisphere, so southern hemisphere, not south pole. They are both north poles. They are both north, or north and north pole. North poles. The south poles are here at the tropical sides, because the field goes like this, down and in, or up and in. Up and over and into the ground. Up and over and into the ground. They must be the opposites there. And this field goes down through the ground and comes up back over there to do that. This one comes down here through the ground, up and over, and does that. It's your infinity symbol. Where did you think it was coming from? They're trying to tell you that field crosses over here. So I don't know if science has known or not. They should have. I'm pretty sure they do. They don't talk about this gap here. They lie to you and tell you the magnetic field flows all the way around here. What the hell gets it all the way around there when it doesn't even pass the tropics? It goes around it in there. If it was a ball. It's not. Understanding the magnetic flux, the magnetic fields and the motions, you start to understand why it's flat and how it all works. They have not taught you that in the past. They did not want you to know. How the energy is created between the tropics. Research this guy. John Searle, generator. John Searle. Don't see listen to the modern versions, it's all lies. Go to his, when he's talking, describing his model. How he found levitation due to the ionization, the negative air. Okay? It's where you lift off the ground between the two forces. Create this magnetic negative air zone. Okay? What else can I say? Okay. So day and night. So days are positive, nights are negative. So this is when this change, the day's changing, and they start offsetting. So let's just say it works like this. Let's just say that there's your North Pole next to it, and there's your North Pole up here. Then you've got a North Pole here, North Pole here, and then you got it. Oh, leave that one there. Then you got another South Pole here. So well, what's happening is, as the seasons change, these offset, and this North Pole starts being attracted to the South Pole, because opposites attract, right? And the whole system works like that. As it's moving around, it's getting pulled in, right up and in. So when that field gets pulled right up and into there, you could say it's south here, north here by the time they get up there, and it's being pulled to there, but it goes a bit deeper than that. Well, that's what's happened. And as it's winding out, then it moves out again. It's just the pump type action of the vortex, because this is the whole realm's going like this, in and out. It's going up and in. The heart, it's the heart system. The heart pumps, doesn't it, during the day? How many beats a day? Well, this whole earthly system only beats once like that over the year. But then you break it all down. You got the tides twice a day, you know. So to imagine how this pumps up and down, just get a balloon and push it, and it pops up and in. Release it, comes back down and out. Now that takes us into the ecliptic plane again, because everything is governed by this 2D plane of creation. So then we have to understand the ecliptic plane. We'll draw the picture. So, right back to the ecliptic plane of creation, looking down on it now. Looking down on the ecliptic plane. Well, right in this ecliptic plane, right around there, right dead in the centre, is the black hole of creation. And there's the sun, the Father and the Son. They are together, but they are separate, single entities, but they have to stay together. Then we have Mercury on that wave. You've got to imagine as a wave, the energy is coming out on a wave like a speaker, and it's just red shifting on the way out. Okay, you got Mercury, then you got Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter and Saturn. So on these eye points of the waves are these planets coming out of the center. Now you could say these are past suns. They all came out of here, moving on in time. I read it recently in the book, might have been the Apocrypha, Uranus. An old something, it might have been an old man, but because all these out here on the ecliptic plane up here represent the males. The females down in here, remember? Male comes in from the top, he's going into the hole. Funny thing. These are all males. These are all the planets. sons, past sons, sons and sons-in-laws and grandfathers and all that they talk about in religion, all up here. Now this, go back to the 2D plane, flexes. So there's the 2D plane, it flexes. The sun in with the black hole here, it never moves. But this will flex up. In compaction, it pushes it up, and then release goes back down and out. That down and out is the sun, down and out, right around the southern hemisphere, down and out, all around the southern hemisphere of our Earth, right out there. And then when it comes back in, it comes up and in. It gets pulled up and into the north. And this is what the Great Pyramids are all about. All in here. The daily shift, look. They're all coming back in, or weekly, what do you want to do? How many layers are in there? There's a couple of hundred, I think. Yeah. Up and in. And what do they put at the top of the pyramid? The sun. Because the sun's up in the centre, isn't it? There's the sun in the centre. So our whole existence is based on frequency, sound. Sound that comes out of this hole and permeates out in the we call the magnetic field. It's magnetic field, the toroidal field. And guess what they call that in celestial navigation? The spider web, because they know all about it. That's the formation of the stars. They know it moves like this as it spirals out, because it's all doing a golden ratio, Fibonacci. It all comes out of the centre. It's always flowing like this, nearly 15 degrees per hour. Okay, because if your timekeeper's your sun, so you're trying to track the stars. You're tracking them in relation to the sun, but the sun, they've got to make allowances for that 4 minutes a day. 4 minutes a day, okay? And I think this is, I haven't looked into it, but that's probably this refraction and all this adjustments they make you do. It's all BS. You just got to know that the sun is 4 minutes quicker than that star. So if you're timing a star's position, you remember your here is 90 degrees to zenith, and you've got your sextant, you've got the angle of that star there, and you got to get the GP point here. Well, they talk about the refractions and all these calculations you've got to do. There's a few there, but just remember that star moving up or around is 4 minutes slower than your sun per hour, per day. Sorry. You got all that? I think I'm going to end it there actually. Yeah. I hope to put this on YouTube, because otherwise you guys can't share it and give it to all these newbies who want to know the system, which is not good for my Patreons, because they've been supporting me for a long time, and why should I give all this information out for free? So if you feel like giving me a donation, go to my Patreon site, Tomb of Illumination, and you find a lot of this in Saints. But if you want a good foundation and go deeper initially to understand things, you need to go into the floodgates tier for a month, and then you get the guts of everything. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope that helps you out. You can always ask a question on my site. Yeah, but there's so much to this flat earth system. It takes heaps of videos for people to get their head around it, and I've only just touched on some things. Like, this is just a fraction of what needs to be explained, but hopefully it'll help you. You just need to understand the two forces of nature that come together, create our realm. That flat plane of inertia is basically the resting state. That's why they say Earth is fixed and stationary, because it's at rest, the two forces. And all this friction around the black hole, haven't even got into that really. You know, understanding that our whole realm all comes back to that flat line. So this 3D down here, you bring it up and flat line everything. So everything going on in here can be brought back to this flat line, and the whole picture is in that flat line. It's like we've brought everything into a TV screen, a flat LED, what do they call them? Whatever. TV, flat screen. Everything into this flat screen. You see it all on the flat screen. Okay, it's all being pulled out and expressed, and then expressed into our realm. So everything's hidden in here, expressed out into our realm. Okay. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Oh, here's something else. If you haven't seen this before, there's another representation. It's not the proper model, but roughly this is what happens. The center north turns, all the fields in the south turn. They're infinite numbered. Infinite. Going like that. Look, day matching up with night there. But that's the perfect separation at this point here. Even though there's no gap in here, it's like this, where it's perfect separation. They're all equal like that. Like that night will line up with that night. Oh no, that's not right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that must be right. Yeah. Okay. Roughly, because these are turning a full circle there, aren't they? Well, they don't do that. As this does a full circle, full rotation here, this here has to wind all the way around. So that one becomes this one, that one becomes this one, that one becomes that one, and that becomes that. They're all moving forward. Okay?